to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. And today, man, we have another show lineup for y'all today. We're going to talk to our special guest today, Kevin Johnson. We're going to learn everything about his business. You can go to his website, thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. Not only is he going to tell us a story, but we're going to focus the topic today, becoming a person of influence. And man, first and foremost, thank you for your time. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on as a guest on your wonderful program. Looking forward to it.
So kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you founded and discovered your business that you're in charge of, thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com.
Okay. Well, I'm a native of Richmond, Virginia. I attended high school and college there, Virginia Commonwealth University. And following my college career, matriculated to our nation's capital, the Washington, D.C. metro area, in pursuit of some gainful employment. So by the recommendation of my mother, I ended up becoming involved with the federal government 1 year out of college. Didn't really understand what I was getting myself into, but was just taking her advice and listening to her wisdom. And so I got involved, and 34 years later, I was at the point where I could retire, and that was 6 years ago. So I spent 34 years with the federal government by way of Richmond, Virginia, spending most of my adult life in the Washington, D.C. metro area. My last position in the federal government was chief of staff, a position that I really, really enjoyed. I found it to be very fulfilling. One of my bosses had recommended that I do that job much earlier in my career, but I declined. I said I didn't want to do that. And that was really just based upon the fact that I didn't know much about the job. But I had a chance to oversee training and human resources and information technology. I got a chance to oversee facilities and property and security. It was really a really neat job. All things related to the staff is what I was responsible for at one of the major directorates at the Department of Defense. I spent most of my career with the Department of Defense and the Department of Treasury. But it was that time where I got a chance to oversee training, and specifically in the area of leadership training aspiring leaders and existing leaders on principles and strategies that would help them to know better and do better. And that was really how I started my company. After I retired, I took about 3 months off, and then I stood up my company in March of 2018. And we've been going strong ever since, putting together a curriculum and an agenda that would benefit aspiring leaders and seasoned leaders at the frontline, mid-level, and senior level, not just in the government, but also in corporations, in churches, in nonprofits, and in academic institutions, just giving them some really good fundamental and foundational training on how to be better leaders. And so we've been growing, and I'm super excited about what's to come. So that's my journey.
And with that being said, when it comes to becoming a person of influence, that's something that you are a master of yourself. Tell the audience, what are some of the quality traits one must possess to even be able to do such a thing?
Yeah, well, influence is one of the key characteristics and attributes of a leader. Using one's influence to get people to show up. But once they show up, we want them to show up with the right attitude so that they would participate. And as an extension of their participation, they're now bringing their gifts and their uniqueness and their knowledge to the table So they now add value to what we're doing. I consider that a contributor. When you are adding value to your team, to your organization, to your company, to your division, your department, you are adding value through your contributions. So our influence as leaders, number one, gets people interested enough to show up, but showing up with the right attitude. Then once people show up, we want them to participate, get involved, bring your ideas, bring your thoughts, bring your viewpoints. And then as an extension of the participation, now you're really contributing to that program, that project, that contract, that initiative, whatever it might be. And your contribution now is adding value to our direction toward that desired outcome, whatever that desired outcome is. So that's how we share with leaders what influence is. And then the next step, after we get your attention and help you to understand the fundamentals of influence, now we sort of unpack that word influence and help leaders to understand, well, here are all the methodologies, and here's how you actually implement your influence as you influence your team, your organization, and in many cases, your entire company. So that's the foundation of it. And we firmly believe that it is really the true measure of a leader. If you really want to measure the effectiveness of any leader at any level in any organization, take a look around to see who are they influencing, who are they getting to show up, who are they getting to participate, and who are they getting to actually contribute. That is the true measure of what influence is all about.
We're talking to Kevin Johnson here on Refocus Radio. You can visit his website, thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. And I noticed that y'all are well connected with the whole John Maxwell team. And I've read his book, Everyone Communicates and Few Connect. Mm-hmm. And that plays a role in being able to influence people because you still have to be able to connect with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So the title is so appropriate because everyone communicates. That is true. And that includes both the words we say as well as our nonverbal communication, which is our tone and our body language. But few connect. And when we say connect, I mean connecting with people as it relates to building bridges, finding common ground, getting to the heart and soul of what they may be interested in, being a good listener. So connecting with people is really key to being a good communicator, because you and I can talk all day long, but if our message is not being received by the recipient or the recipients because we're not connecting, then we cannot walk away and say that we were very effective in our communication. So everyone communicates, few connect is an opportunity based on the Maxwell Leadership Team curriculum to help people to understand some of the principles and then some of the practices that go into being a good communicator. And the primary one is really helping us all as leaders to better understand how to connect with people. You know, whether you're having a one-on-one conversation or whether you're talking to a small team of maybe 3 to 5 people, or a bigger organization of maybe 150 people, or if you find yourself on the stage behind a podium and a microphone in front of you and you're looking out and there's 2,500 people, there are ways to connect with your audience so that they not only get your message, but they thoroughly understand it, and then they can take action based upon what's been communicated. So that's one of my favorite topics, communication, because all of us are so unique in terms of how we're created and how we're made. There's a multitude of ways that we can communicate with people because one way doesn't fit all. Some people are visual learners. Other people you have to repeat maybe 3 or 4 times before they get it. Some people you'll ask once and they understand and they'll run with it. So there's a diversity of ways that people are able to receive the message that we're communicating. And we have to always be mindful of who we're talking to, always be mindful of your audience in every venue that we find ourselves in. So those are some of the key takeaways from what we learned together with Everyone Communicates, but Few Connect.
And you yourself have also authored books as well. Share with the audience some of those titles.
Yeah, well, I've been writing now for 21 years. I started with one book as a new author on faith. And then I continued on that particular journey on faith. But over the years, I've written books on the topic of blended families, finance, book marketing, how to write and improve your skill. And then here, most recently, on leadership. That's the lane I'm in. That's the season of life that I'm in, to pour into the next generation of leaders to help them to understand three things: know better, do better, and lead better. So I am a principal author. And what I mean by principal author is I am the primary author that may have written a given book, but I'm also a contributing author. I receive phone calls and emails from different people that say, Kevin, we're about to publish an anthology or this collection of stories, and we would like to include your chapter. Are you available to submit something to us, no more than maybe 1,700 words, that would be a part of this anthology or a part of this collection? I do a lot of that. As a matter of fact, I would probably say on average, I do one of those every other year. And then I write a book on average about every other year. So I'm up to a total of 20 in my portfolio. We have 2 coming out this year. One is an anthology talking about our vantage point and our viewpoint and our journey as educators. That will be coming out later on in December of this year. And then I also just did one recently with Stan Matthews and Dr. George Frazier around the title of Who Blessed You? And I wrote specifically about 3 people in my life that were real blessings that helped me to propel into my gift. One is my 11th grade teacher, Miss Atkins, in high school. The other one is my maternal grandmother, affectionately known as Granny. And the other one is one of my former pastors, Pastor John Sherry. He's no longer with us, but I wrote about those 3 along the title, Who Blessed You? And that will be coming out real soon. As a matter of fact, this fall, it'll be coming out this fall. So I'm super excited about that as well.
And mentioning those 3 people that had an impact in your life, that kind of circles around the topic, becoming a person of influence. Mm-hmm. How has various challenges in your life helped lead you into understanding the opportunities that can come with being a good influencer?
Yeah, what's interesting about this life that we live is that we're always learning and we're always growing and we're always making mistakes. And we're always looking at brick walls, and we're always faced with no's, N-O. But being resilient and being persistent, we always find a way to bounce back and use those as opportunity toward the success that we all enjoy. So all of that is part of influence. I think about people who have influenced me positively. I just named 3. But I've also run into people who were a negative influence, and I had to find a way to get away from them. And what I learned from them is to not do that to anybody else in my journey, because of how it made me feel. I don't want to be responsible for making other people feel that way. So the intent behind our influence is to make a positive impact in the lives of others. And what we do on that particular topic is we actually spell out the word influence is what we do. We spend a lot of time with our leaders understanding it conceptually, the I is for integrity. Being a person of integrity goes a very, very long way. And we spend quality time unpacking that. What is integrity and why is it important? The N is for nurture. Nurture has everything to do with making sure we help provide environments for people to succeed. And those environments include resources, information, coaching, mentoring, training that people need to be the best that they can be. The F in influence is faith. Faith from the perspective of having confidence in people so that they can be bold and going after their goals and their dreams and their initiatives. Nothing is more satisfying to a person to hear from their leader say, I have faith in you. I have confidence in you. That just goes a very long way. So that's part of using your influence as well. The L in influence is listen. Now, being a good listener is very important, but truth be told, we don't get a great deal of training on the topic. So many of us are not good listeners, and there's a lot of different reasons, but we help leaders to better understand the importance of hearing people out, even if we don't necessarily agree with what they're saying. Give them the opportunity to be heard. Don't interrupt. Don't change the subject. It goes a very, very long way. And then the U in influence is understand. And what we mean by that is taking the time to understand people. Now, this is one of my favorite areas to have a conversation about influence, because it's of the uttermost importance that leaders take the time to know the people that we're leading, but equally important, make sure that we're open so that our people get to know us. Now, I'm not talking about becoming friends or anything like that. I'm just talking about getting a chance to know people on a level where we can all develop a relationship that then turns into trust. And now we're on our way to doing some really, really good things. So that's just part of what we do in terms of unpacking that word influence. And I've found over the years that most leaders found it to be very, very beneficial.
And people listen to this, we kind of touched on it earlier about communication skills. When someone is learning how to communicate better, so for instance, you're on a job and you get entrusted to do more difficult tasks and more freedom to handle some things and be responsible over areas. How does sharpening your communication skills set you apart from the rest?
Well, I'm going to keep it as simple as I can, and it's this: when we're communicating, when we're having a conversation, when we're in dialogue with people, whether it's one-on-one, small team, larger group, take the extra step to confirm that what's been communicated is understood. Because it's not unusual in life that we'll communicate a message and we'll kind of walk away because we assume that we've communicated effectively and that others get it. But what sets us apart, that's the operative question in your question, what sets good leaders apart is taking the time to now give people some space and some elbow room to ask clarifying questions and to make sure that as the leader who has just communicated a message, making sure that people actually understand it. And that's the difference. Don't leave people guessing in terms of what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. Be descriptive. Take the time to really help people understand what the message is and why it's important. and make yourself available for questions and for any help in the event they may need it. A lot of people equate shame to having to admit that they didn't quite get it, they didn't quite understand it. It's almost like they're saying something's wrong with me because I didn't quite get the message. But that's not the case. More times than not, it's on the person that communicated the message. So take the time to make sure that the message resonates with those that it's intended to be, and be available to answer any questions that they may have without making them feel shamed to ask questions. You know, you and I often hear in the room where somebody would say, oh, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, people don't necessarily feel that way, though. Some people do feel it's dumb to ask the question. But good leaders help to break down the environment and break down the atmosphere so that people actually do feel comfortable asking that follow-on question if they didn't get it the first time. So that's the difference maker right there.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Kevin Johnson. He's the owner of the Johnson Leadership Group, LLC. You can go visit his website, thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. And for someone listening right now, what do you say to a person who may have a question? Well, how do I know if I'm being called to be a leader?
Typically, you'll feel it in your heart. I always tell leaders, follow your heart. If your heart is really in it and you really want to help develop people, help them to improve, help them to get better, to serve them, to advocate for them, to support them, then in your heart, you're that leader. And I always tell folks, follow your heart. Conversely, if you don't feel it and your heart is saying, I'm not really sure if I really want to do this, then don't do it, because you don't want to make yourself miserable and you don't want to make other people miserable either. So follow your heart. I tell people that all the time. If you know for a fact this is something you want to do, to advocate for other people, to support other people, help them to develop, get better, tap into their potential, then that's you. And for me, it started in the home. You know, I have a younger brother who was born with a mental disability. Many years later, I get married, and from our union, we have 3 sons, and we discover that our baby boy, our youngest son, is autistic. So for me, leadership started in the home because I had to advocate, I had to negotiate, I had to work with a lot of the school officials, the neighbors. I had to fight for them in terms of bullies when they were young. And so it just then cascaded into the workplace. So it's been very natural for me, and I'm just following my heart. So 34 years, and here I am post-retirement. I'm still just as active now as I was during my 34-year career. My schedule is much different. I'm in control of my schedule, but I am just as active and just as busy pouring into the lives of the next generation of leaders, because I'm really passionate about this topic.
And with a impressive, great resume that you have yourself, you yourself have become a person of influence. So touch a little bit about your business model and how you are serving your clients.
Yeah, so, our mission is to create leaders of excellence at all levels, right? So whether you're at the front line and you're kind of just getting started, if you're at the mid-level, you've been doing it for maybe 10 years, or if you're at the senior level, 25 plus years, you're seasoned, you've been leading people for a while, there's always something new to learn, and there's some aspect of growth that's inevitable in terms of what you do. So we're under contract as a prime contractor, the Johnson Leadership Group, LLC. We're a prime contractor. That means that organizations hire the company, and I have 10 people on the team to come in and help to train their workforce. We also do executive coaching. We also do diversity, equity, and inclusion. training and consulting. And then we also have a myriad of leadership assessment tools that we use that complement the training. So again, whether it's an academic institution, a nonprofit organization, a church, a corporation, or a government agency, city, county, state, and federal, we're deep into the workplace and the workforce, helping men and women to become better leaders. But also, in addition to that, organizations hire me, Kevin Johnson, as an independent contractor. So they may win a contract with another organization, and they need to bring in someone to fulfill their terms and conditions under their contract. So they call me and they hire me, and I'm the face that kind of goes in and does the training on behalf of other companies. So I do both, having a blast, learning what it is to be an entrepreneur, because I had not been one previously, at least not on a full-time basis, and just super excited about what's happening and what's to come. And I believe that we're just really scratching the surface. I really believe that we're going to continue to grow and scale and be able to reach a number of men and women out there in the workplace who actually have a thirst and a hunger to better understand what it means to be a leader. I mean, the demand is there. It's just a matter of now being able to meet the demand. And so that's what keeps us excited. That's what keeps us going.
And last question for you is, when you look around, specifically here in the United States, America, it's a lot of things going on. I mean, yes, the world, but right here in our own country, it's a lot of things going on, a lot of distractions, a lot of, you turn the channel, it's like, okay, what's next in this news cycle? How do you fight through the noise and keep it as clear as you can when you're working with people who need your service?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Well, what I do is the same thing that I tell everybody within my sphere of influence to do. Always be professional, diplomatic, and tactful. I'll say that again because it's very, very important in this world that we live in. And like you said, in this country, be professional, diplomatic, and tactful in how we handle our day-to-day business. Don't get too caught up in a lot of the drama that's going on, a lot of the negativity. Stay focused as it pertains to your mission. Everybody should have a mission statement in life. My mission statement I keep right here in my home office where I can see it. It's written on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that I drew up probably close to 10 years ago, and I still have it. I stay true to my life's mission, and that is to be of service to people, help to meet the need wherever they are, not where I think they should be, but where they are. And I learned about that through conversation and dialogue and just having some communication. So that's what I recommend, because the state of our nation is not necessarily going to change as technology evolves. There's more and more and more messaging out there. Podcasts are in a state today where they were not even 5 years ago. There's more and more social media sites. There are more and more internet channels. There's more and more cable channels. There's just a lot of activity going on, and I just stay laser focused on my mission, and I stay professional, diplomatic, and tactful in terms of how I handle myself and how my business operates. And that's been the difference. We've
been talking to Kevin Johnson here on Refocus Radio. He's the owner of the Johnson Leadership Group, LLC. Go visit his website and learn more about his business, thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. Again, Kevin, I want to say thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you as well. Keep doing great things. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.